Hello, and welcome to Glitter and Gab. Today is July 11th, 7/11. That's how much my son weighed when he was born. It's Dr. Constance Leyland's birthday. It is also Sherry's birthday. It's a couple birthdays in the house, so happy birthday. If it's your birthday month, happy birthday to you. And I love birthdays. For me personally, it's my favorite 3 months of the year. It's the whole birthday season. I claim it all. And that is the fall time. And so I absolutely love birthdays. And I thought, I used to do at least once a month, just a happy birthday to everyone. And I think that I'm going to start doing that again. But today, since we're on the birthdays, we're talking about our beautiful little Cancers, our beautiful little crabs of the zodiac. I just want to say to all of you beautiful Cancers, thank you for growing. Thank you for learning to trust and come out of your shell, but also thank you for having the boundaries of your shell, the boundaries of your safe place to retreat to when you need to, and to self-care for yourself. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for beautifying the earth and the sand and being a part of a beautiful ecosystem that is the earth. And you're not crabs, of course, but you embody and imbue some piece of connection, especially with them. And so thank you for just being you. And I really do honestly hope that you have the best birthdays ever. As you can all see, I have a very special guest with me today, and his name is Chason Forehand, and he is just a magnificent human being. We were talking backstage, and every time I'm in your presence, I just admire and fall in love with you and what it is that you're doing, and your purpose more and more. So this was a very short notice also. So you guys give some hearts, throw some comments, throw some applause to Chason. That this morning he happened to message me and I said, you know what? Hey, I had a cancellation. Would you like to be my guest? And he says, yes. And so thank you so much for being open to be in the flow and being here today. And so for those that don't know me, my name is JenLyn, and I am the founder of Unique One New Beauty Norm. And so Unique One New Beauty Norm and myself as that entity are on a mission to bring business back to the heart of the people, to bring the world back into a place of beauty and connection, communication, relationships, community, right? And kind of a restart, right? There's a restart in 2020, and I saw that as an opportunity to raise systems up, to be able to meet the systems that are currently crumbling and have been crumbling since that time, to be able to meet in the middle and integrate and really create something that is new and different, and that will support legacy and impact for the future, not for now, for the future. And so, Chason, you also have this beautiful ecosystem and community, and that you have created. So why don't you say hello to everybody and tell everybody a little bit about HRU?
Oh, thank you so much. I was planning on being in the audience anyway, so it just was fortuitous, I guess. The universe was in alignment. So thank you so much for asking me to be on the show. I've watched the show before. I think the last one that I caught, and I've got to catch up, but the last one I caught, you were going into the metaverse, weren't you?
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I was following that whole thing. So that was crazy.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
My name's Chason Forehand. I am an HR guy. I started out in the culinary world, that branched out to me learning about human resources because I fell into it and fell into hiring and training and doing other things that blossomed into that career. I started my own human resources consulting agency that works with social good entities only, and provides project-based HR solutions for them. But most of my time is spent with HR for You Incorporated. That is a 501c charitable organization that champions paying people a living wage and putting people first. We empower change organizations and their leaders to uplift people with wellness, worth, and well-being. And we believe that the same as what you were talking about, we believe in a place where people-centered organizations are the thing of that is everywhere. That's not just a anomaly, but that everyone has a people-centered organization. So thank you very much for the platform, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm always happy to share. I think that it's one of the beautiful things about the age is that we can have a platform. Every one of us has a platform. When we turn on our camera, when we turn on our microphone, we have a platform. And then to turn around and immediately use that to put, other people on, to share your stories and to shed a light on what each other is doing is a beautiful thing. And we were talking, backstage, and as I was listening to you too, it's interesting, isn't it? How, I call it, there's a symbol, it's called a unilami, and it's a symbol signifying that it's not a straight line, right? It's zigzaggy, but, and I was definitely thinking of that as you were talking, because how do you go from culinary to falling into HR? And I get asked that all the time, little things like that as well. How did you go from being a paramedic and a firefighter to doing branding and, building ethos systems? Like how does that happen? And so I want to hear just a little bit more. Can you go a little bit deeper into how that transition happened for you, and what really woke up and birthed this drive and this passion in you for this change that you're creating?
Sure. I mean, I will tell you that I thought I was going to be a rock star. So I play multiple instruments, and I'm a singer. And I actually was on a small label and toured up and down the East Coast, playing at a lot of great places, like Paul Colby's The Bitter End and CBGB's Gallery Side in New York City before they had closed down that section. And I thought that was going to be the ticket. And I fell into culinary because, it was demanded that I go to school. You're going to go to college. So I actually made great grades, could have gotten into any school I wanted to, but I couldn't afford it because I had a bunch of brothers and needed to go to a place that I could get some scholarships, that I could work on campus, etc. But I started out, really kind of already rocky in the sense that I had all this childhood trauma that I wasn't really dealing with. And once some of the reins got pulled back and I had some freedom, it made it even worse. So I literally ended up being a drug addict and being homeless before I got to a place where the culinary world I took more seriously, and I took myself and my health and well-being more seriously. And I attribute that to people around me that, one chef in particular, but people around me that were like, I see better for you and I want better for you. I want you to want better for yourself.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference in the world. And it wasn't a linear path. And it had a lot of twists and turns and skinned knees and busted noses along the way from failing but failing forward and learning. And so when I started to get myself into a place when I was working in higher end restaurants, and I was working my way up the ladder because I had really decent culinary skills. People that were chef owners or restaurateurs would say, man, you are so stinking friendly. I would love for you to hire people, train people, do this, do that. And that's how the journey started. And then I started learning, HR is not in the culinary world, might have been looked at as having a come to Jesus meeting out by the dumpsters out back. But I took it into learning about the state laws and learning about the federal laws and learning about how can I pour into people and really change the narrative, because there's such terrible things that the restaurant industry is known for: high turnover, burnout, all of these awful things that are, from a wellness standpoint and from a low pay and all of that. So how do you change those things internally? I look for the ways to change it internally where I was, but also to learn more about this job. And that turned into multi-unit and multi-state jobs. And then that turned into me doing my own HR work, and then growing into doing work with nonprofits and doing pro bono work for nonprofits. And then now in 2022, opening up my own nonprofit with a group of people. So it is a crazy path. And I have reinvented myself multiple times, but
Yes.
I absolutely believe in that power. I believe we all have multiple skills that, we can capitalize on. And so I think the thing is finding out what you love to do and then really honing that craft to do that. So that to me is what makes the most sense. And that's how I ended up here.
I love it. I love it. It's so true. And that's, I work with especially neurodivergents who are multi-passionate, to be able to bring all of that experience, all of that wisdom and all of that education and the knowledge and all of it into their own unique, specific niche, like their own niche. We're creating individual niches based off of all of those strengths. And it's so exciting to me to be supporting others to do that. And I think that, and it is taking what you've been through, right, and what I've been through, and taking that and putting it into an actual system and personifying that. And it's really exciting. And from an HR standpoint as well, one reason that I really chose the area of branding was to support people in beginning to think about, how are you going to hire? What team is it that you're looking for? How are you going to create an ethos system that supports their well-being as well as your own? How are you going to support inclusion? And how are you going to support diversity? How are you going to ensure that everyone's human rights are being honored, and all of those things? Because if we're not thinking about it, it's not happening. And I spent 6 years helping spiritual women build spiritual businesses, sacred businesses, right? Soul-based businesses. And that's what I kept seeing over and over and over again, was that all of these important little pieces, they weren't there. And, they have to be. If you're not thinking about these things from the beginning, you're not going to succeed. It's going to be so much harder, right? And so I love that. To me, that's, so much of what that particular area that you're serving in is for also, and you're doing it on such a deeper level. So I really, really respect and have so much love for what it is that you're doing. And man, it's just really great to see and to know you. And the vulnerability, of course, is something that is of the, now you have to be vulnerable. It is demanded, right? We live in a world that's changed, and whereas it used to be considered a weakness or something that had to be separate, or that you kept to the sides, or there are all these walls in place that you weren't allowed to do that. Bricks and brick by brick, we're taking that down, and we're rebuilding that, and through sharing our stories. And so thank you for being so vulnerable with yours, because it's so important. And I think that I heard earlier today you're selling, so you've been sober for 33 years now.
Yeah, I've been clean for 33 years. That was in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
In a month or so for me, I will be celebrating 6 years of complete, total 100% sobriety. Thank you so much. Because, I went down the path. I've actually experienced some homelessness after being, widowed and being left with absolutely nothing for a short period of time. And so much of your story reflects, is parallel with my own. And I know everyone that's out there that's listening as well. And so I think that it's incredibly important to talk. And I wanted to, you are in the anthology Moving Beyond Boxes, The Journey of Self-Discovery, published with Dr. Constance Leyland and Susanna Dawn. And so I would love to hear a little bit about your experience. Mine was just, is there a better experience in the world than working with them?
No,
I don't know that there is.
they're both very incredible. And for my very first time to write anything in public and to do something that I really struggled to put out in the public space, they made it as easy as possible. And, earlier today being on Dr. Leland's show and her reading her synopsis of my chapter, I mean, it was all I could do not to break out in tears. I mean, it was emotional, and it was almost like when we were in the groups together and we were reading each other's chapters, hearing your own words from someone else's perspective really changes things.
Yes.
But I am grateful, forever grateful, to have been part of this and to be able to put out for other people to read, and to be alongside people like yourself that are telling their tales and what they've experienced and how we all can move beyond boxes. So that for me was incredible. It was an incredible experience.
It really was. And I was in the audience and I was tearing up. It is always magical to hear. It's always moving when you hear it from somebody else's perspective. When Dr. CJ Leyland is the one that's sharing her written perspective, it is, it gets you, she's just, an incredible person, an incredible communicator, and so is Susanna. And when you're working with them and the feedback that they give you, I remember, like my first chapter, it was a hot mess. It was just really a dump about, I don't know, I think this is what I want to talk about. This is what happened, and they're like, okay, whew, all right, now let's, and so I imagine that it was, or what I hear is that it was the same for you. And I really think that's pretty magical. I would love, with your permission, to read your own words, just one little excerpt. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Everyone, again, this is available. It's Moving Beyond Boxes, The Journey of Self-Discovery. It is an anthology, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 authors in total, 13 beautiful stories. And this, of course, is about being able to move beyond the boxes that you find yourself in when you awaken to yourself as an adult, right? Or as a child. But during those years of self-discovery, I learned that the boxes that society, my stepmothers, and I had placed me in were construct which my soul cried to be set free from. I had failures. I had resets. I had to remind myself along the way that I was worthy of being someone that didn't belong in a box. I had to learn and like, and then love the person staring back at myself in the mirror so I could be free of the boxes. I had many moments of clarity during these years. I saw how lucky I was to be alive, to be present, to be someone that can not only make a change in myself, but can create a difference in the world. I was removing the boxes one by one and pushing forward into a life of freedom.
Mm. Thank you for reading that.
Thank you for sharing and pulling that from your message, from your mess into your message into a written piece of readable, feelable, livable story. Because it's so important. It's so important. And you said earlier, falling forward. And I love to say that when we fall and we get back up, we're starting from experience. We're never starting back at square one, no matter how many times it may feel that that's the case. We're always starting from experience. We always have had the opportunity to pick up lessons, to pick up tools, to carry forth with us, to carry back with us, and to carry side to side with us as it is that we're going forward. In my experience, when we feel like we've been pulled all the way back to that square one, we're actually having that ability to gain great insight about all of the things along the way that we did, making sure that we didn't miss any of those little golden nuggets. And then we're usually slingshotted into a complete new atmosphere, a complete new dimension, a complete new level. Is that something that you have experienced? And how is your ability to reflect and on such a deep level, how does that continue to move you forward in what you're doing every day?
It's a great question. And I think I'm guilty sometimes of, I'll say this, even at this point in my life, as I approach 60, I will say that I still am working on that nagging voice that tells me I'm unworthy, that I named it Junior. I
Yeah.
gave it a name, that evil little monkey that, gets too close to me sometimes. But I recognize where it comes from. I'm aware of what it's trying to do, and I know that it's the enemy. And I think that grace has been the biggest teacher, because being able to move forward in anything means that you have to learn from your past. You have to be intentional about forging that path forward, and understand that it is okay to have stumbled, have taken a step backwards, have had to reevaluate, have had to shift, had to pivot, had to reinvent. And that's not a failure. That's moving forward. That's failing forward. That's falling forward.
Yes.
And so giving yourself the grace to understand when things seem challenging, that maybe it's the universe telling you to pivot, and being aware of that, and being willing to listen, and to really get to a place of peace with yourself. I think that's truly a gift, and it takes a lot of intentionality. I have definite patterns and a structure, like getting up at a certain time, making sure that I'm stretching, that I have some exercise routine, that I'm journaling, that I'm meditating, and that I'm doing the things that I have to do. If I'm out of sync in that, I feel it.
Oh God,
I will
yes.
feel it in my energy. I will feel it in kind of the waves and what's happening in the course of the day. The day ends up running me versus me running the day. And I can't afford that. I wear too many hats, and there's
Yes.
too much going on. So I have to be very intentional about what my time looks like, and how I give myself grace, and how I listen and pay attention to my body and my mind and my spirit, and what I need, and what it needs in order to move forward. And that's it. Again, I keep saying this word intentionality, but it does. I mean, you intentionality and mindset, intentionality and taking care of yourself, intentionality and forgiving yourself, and intentionality and loving yourself, intentionality and self-care. All of those things are a process, and they're a daily process. So
Yeah, they
I'm
are.
still learning.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a journey. There's a Sarah McLachlan album and song, and it's called "Stumbling Towards Ecstasy."
Mhm.
And I love that phrase. And I have it, seared in my flesh, even stumbling towards ecstasy, because we are, it is a dance, and sometimes it feels, and sometimes it does mean that we're down on the ground, we're getting trampled on even, and ran over and everything else. But at the end of the day, we know that finding the ability to love our journey, to love ourselves, to love everything that's brought us to where we are, that's the journey, that's the intentionality. And you do have to be incredibly intentional. And I am going to talk neurodivergency here for just a moment, because it is a superpower in our ability to be very, very intentional and organized. That allows that ability to wear all of those different hats, right?
Yeah.
Because I have, my drink breaks are scheduled. When you are inside my program, I make myself, and for myself and for, my community. If we're doing something together, I will have the little drink. I'll have a drink infographic that's thrown into the middle so that it reminds me to take a drink, and that I remember that, and so that we can all do that together. I'm being very intentional and putting all of those little pieces in place all the way throughout the day, and being able to stay in that lane, even if it means you have to drift and pivot a little. You're still very intentional and focused about what it is that you're doing, and a time, right? I schedule myself just like I would if I was working a 9 to 5, say, per se job. But I schedule my breaks, I schedule my lunch, right? So that I don't get pulled into this trap of not being able to honor those things for myself. So, do you have any little tricks of the trade or anything like that you do along the way that really help you stay inside of your intentionality that you've set for yourself?
Well, for me, it's about the routine, and and I had to kind of mess with this, because I this is like over time, like, so one of the things is making sure that I pray and meditate at least in the morning and in the evening.
Yes.
That I at least once, either in the morning or in the evening, journal, and I make myself sit down and I just start writing, and then whatever comes out, maybe it's writing for 5 minutes, maybe it's writing for 20 minutes, but whatever, and it's handwritten, and I just write. And then I think the other thing that has really been healing for me and keeps me in this zone, and I think we talked about this off camera, is that I'm in the basement of my house, and out to my left, if I were to walk you around my basement, there's an exit that goes straight outside, and it allows me to walk outdoors, breathe fresh air, and just stand in the sunlight, and be outside. To me, nature is Mother Nature is an amazing healer and an amazing place to breathe deep, to reset, to get into a heady space where you can clear your thoughts and you can think clearly about what's happening and what you need to do. And then I'll say this other piece, and this is a work in progress. I really try my best to not sweat the small stuff. The things I cannot control, I have to let go, because there's a million things that happen just in the nonprofit alone. There's a million things that happen and shift and adjust and move and shake. And if I were to not allow the small things or the things that I can't control to consume me, I would never get anything done. So I would be a stress ball. I would be just like this, that I would be squeezing on this, so yeah, it is. I think that is part of, yeah, no, I would not have made it through Dr. Leland's thing earlier or when you were reading if I wasn't crushing this. So
Yeah, I think it is interesting that so many of us, have I put into motion, compassion, empathy, right? Those feelings into, of course, my stress, my anxiety, my uncomfort, right? And I know that that's something that we absolutely cultivate over time. And I love that you said you meditate 2 times, and that it's in the morning and the evening, because those are the best times. The very, very best times are when I have to go neuro for a minute, because I just love neurobiology and neuroscience and the brain, and using biohacking, which is using our body's systems to support us when they're trying to hinder us, right? And so really in all technicalities, eating and changing your diet is a form of biohacking.
Sure.
You're using, when you're using particular foods to increase or boost your mood or your serotonin or whatever it may be that you're using it for. Those are all forms of biohacking, and meditation is. And so when we wake up, like before we get out of bed, when we very, very first are coming into consciousness, that's a brainwave that we are in as children from the time that we're born all the way through to about 5 or 7 years old. Literally everything in our life is that's deeply programmed is in that time period, and everything else is added to or taken away, and it can only be accessed through that brainwave. So we can reach that brainwave through meditation. And naturally, when we wake up, or as we're dozing off, or if you notice that when you're doing dishes or something that you find really repetitive and calm, that you just kind of start to drift off a little, you have entered, right? You've entered into that brainwave. And so when we meditate, when we get into that brainwave, there's certain things that we can do to really truly reprogram our subconscious, which is really super powerful. And I love that naturally, or through learning from other people, however it may be, you've discovered that for yourself. And I think it's really powerful. And I love that you mentioned it. It is something that I do as well. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. And or sometimes if I'm going through a period like I have for like the last 6 months, I haven't even been to sleep. But no matter what, at 4 a.m., that's when I'm able to go outside. Because of my lupus and such, I'm not able to be out in the sun. I'm not able, I can't be in the heat. It makes me very sick. And so I go between 4 and 5. And my favorite time of year in the fall, between those hours, it changes from night to day. The birds begin to sing and pull in the daylight. There's so much peace and stillness and harmony. And it's my absolute favorite time and experience every single 24 hours is to have that moment. And when we're in nature, it's such a reminder of our connection with everything, the ability to breathe fresh air, the ability to have the grass underneath our feet, feel the wind on our face. It's just a beautiful experience, and I love it. And it's something that I practice. And then in the evening time, after the sun's gone down, sometimes in the middle of the night in the summertime, I will go out, right, stand, dance, sing under the moon, right, because it's such a beautiful time just to be alive with everything quiet. When I was growing up in Oregon, we hiked, we biked, we whitewater rafted. We were so physical. I was such a physical being, and I love nature. And I don't get to experience it that way anymore. So one biohacking thing that I do is I have a huge pot of dirt and my feet are in it.
Nice.
And I change it out with the seasons. I will go get fresh dirt, right? And it's just a way to connect and root and balance in a way that is unexpected, but it works, right? We are all part of the universe. We all are made of the same substances. So we can connect in that way. And it really touches me. You touch me, your life does. The work that you've done, that you've put in, that I know, that I recognize, the difficult path that you've traveled, the difficult decisions that you make on a daily basis to support what it is that you really want in life, to keep that bigger vision, to keep it outside of not being about you, but knowing that you have to care and love for you before you can extend that out. And it's such a beautiful thing. And speaking of all of that, this evening, you yourself are having a wonderful live with some wonderful gentlemen and for a wonderful cause. And I would love to dive into that for just a few minutes. If you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got four guys that were former special operators in the United States military that are part of a group called Courser Racing. And they are a 501c3. For those of you outside the United States or that are in the United States and never heard that term before, 501c3 means they are a charitable, tax-exempt nonprofit. That's what we are at HR for You Incorporated. It is the hardest, one of the hardest nonprofits with the most rules to get, and has a lot of different rules and a lot of things that you have to do in order to get that acceptance from the IRS. However, these guys have done it, and they are doing incredible work to help veterans and to help first responders with a program that they use, ocean racing. And we're going to be talking about it tonight. We're going to introduce the four guys that are the leaders of this group. And Peter Glazier, I got introduced to him because I'm part of a group called the Outlier Project, and one of the many groups. I'm part of the Hounds, which you and I are part of the Hounds. But the Outlier Project, I met a lady named Irene Glazier, and that's Peter's mom. And we just hit it off. And I've got, it's funny that like 4 of the 6 of my dearest, closest friends are ex-military. And I never served for multiple different reasons. But I just have an affinity for the people in the military. I mentor in a program called American Corporate Partners. This is my 3rd year mentoring veterans that are transitioning into civilian life, to help them get a better foothold in that transition. And so anytime I have an opportunity to shout out people that are doing work with veteran organizations or first responders, then I want to do it. And we want to, as a nonprofit ourselves, we want to shout out what they're doing. So tonight it's going to be about these guys as part of our people community events where we highlight other organizations. And that's something we're very proud to do. We do anywhere from 1 to 4 of these a month. And we go live on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So yeah, that'll be 7 p.m. tonight. You can find the link. I may have, let's see if oh yeah, it actually worked. I'll put it in the chat there. The thing people, I copied it earlier to see if I could actually do it.
And I copied all your other stuff, and it's been
spoiled. Yeah, I love that. I thank you so much for that. I saw that and I was like, oh, that's fantastic. But yeah, we're gonna start at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we're gonna have a conversation with these guys and let them tell their stories and let them tell what they're doing. So I'm really super excited to have them on the show.
Yeah, it's a great initiative. I peeked, and I'm not going to give too much away, but I love what they're doing. I love the physicality of what they're doing. So much fun. Oh my God. I absolutely, I said my favorite place to be is in the ocean, on the coast or out on the water, but especially out in the water. There is something so tranquil and calming to me, to feeling so connected. And I think it has to do, because we all do in nature, but especially in water. Everybody I talk to is like water, water, water. And it's like, well, we're like 90% water. So it just makes sense. But to be out in the ocean and just really sit and feel and be in a flow, and realize that even the word flow, I think we sometimes get it twisted, that we expect flow to be this, like you're being rocked by someone that cares for you greatly. And in our experiences, we are being rocked by someone that loves us greatly, but it's a big someone, because we're big things, and we're part of a big, huge thing. And so it's not always like this, right? It's like you've been on like 16, 17 foot swells. You are having a moment where you are realizing that, time is short. You need to make, you're having that moment, right, where you have to, I need to make some different decisions. I'm going to make some different decisions, right? Because you're having this scary moment. I love what they're doing. The physicality is absolutely needed. People that go into the military have to have physicality, and physicality is such an important part of being a human, and exerting that, and especially it's such a hard transition and I'm not a veteran either. I want to make that clear. But I do understand I had a brother-in-law that served, and the transition, was proved to be too much. And I've lost, as a civil servant, firefighter, paramedic, so many brothers and sisters to the lack of support and not being able to transition and just live in a civilian world, because it really is it's a completely different world. And both worlds are seeing things, going through things, and making decisions that are truly life and death decisions. And it takes such a toll. And I just love how reading about them today, how I can see how they've just taken all of that and put it into this really beautiful thing that they've put in motion to support. And it's literally motion, and using all of those needs, having them met in a way that is so beautiful and so supportive. I can just fill into that and know the huge impact that they're having. And so I'm honored by privy just by having you on today to be have such
Oh,
a little small role in amplifying you to amplify them. So thank you again for allowing me to do that. I think that it's really, quite important and quite beautiful and needed, right? So what are you passionate about for yourself? For yourself, what are you passionate about for you? Do you have a hobby, or do you still play? Do you still play
yep.
music? And yeah,
I
I
still
love.
play music. I still play music. I am this is something that I get judged judged about a lot, but I'm a gamer. I
Yeah,
still
love it.
I am a geek. I'm a tech nerd, and yes, and I love gardening. So I love being outdoors. I have a couple different gardens. I love to play in the dirt. I
Yeah,
still am that kid.
me too.
I can't wait till we get Transformation Kitchen up and going, and I'm going to build a thing called Gardens of Hope, and put it alongside our Transformation Kitchen, and teach people about composting and stuff like that. So I love that. So those things are all things that are well rounded. I still cook almost daily, you
Yeah,
know. Um, there are times like today where my wife's not happy that she's on her own, but there's leftovers in the fridge, so she'll make it. So yeah, but it's cathartic, and I it's still to this day that you were talking about some of those repetitive motions. There are things and recipes in my head and things that I do that I can make, and it just becomes a passion project. You're just doing. And you're not even thinking about it, but it's like that activity that you've done a million times. And so yeah, I love that part. I still love to cook very much so, and I love to give back. So it's all things that feed my soul.
yeah, I love it. I love it so much. I love to cook as well. I grew up kind of, not always, but we didn't necessarily eat at the table, but we did have a table. So really we conversated around the table. We played board games around the table and those types
Yes.
of things. And I love to entertain. I used to I can't do it myself anymore. Now I have to, pay for catering, but I used to just do these big, huge gatherings and meals and all the decorations and, just all of the things because I love it so much. I love when people come together and break bread together. There's something so magical about that time and just sharing and talking over food and with food that's come from a beautiful, bountiful garden like your own. Someone has put love and time and attention and care into what it is that you're sharing and what you're eating. And as the preparer, knowing that you've put so much love and care into every little detail, and then
Yeah.
to just get to kind of sit back and watch on kind of that ethereal, seat of how everyone enjoys that, and receives what it is that you've put in. It's just so magical. And I love music as well. Never could do strings, but I did play saxophone for 17 years, and
Love that.
I can play any wind instrument. So uh,
Nice.
and it's been a while. I say that but I could, it's kind of like a bike. You don't do it as quickly, but as soon as but you could,
Yeah.
it's been a long time, but the last several years I've been dreaming of, and I've been looking at cellos. I
Ooh.
want a
I like
cello.
the sound of those. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, about 5, 6 years ago, I guess I started having dreams of just, being in this still place and just playing the cello, and it's, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
How
So
cool is that?
It is very cool, and I haven't found the cello. That's the thing, but I will. When I see it, I'll know it, and it will just be mine, and then I'll be playing cello. But I absolutely love the path that you've been on and had, and all the different ways that you support your community and yourself. In this last couple of minutes, I just want to hand the floor to you to just speak from your heart. What's important for you in this moment? What do you feel, inspired to speak about, and speak to each one of those parts of yourselves, right? The person who's struggling, the person who's feeling and living in abundance, the person who has it all together, the person who doesn't, and the wholeness that meets in the middle.
I appreciate you having me on the show. Like I said, I was going to be here anyway, so this was a great opportunity, and I appreciate the graciousness to bring me on and have me talk about these things. And thank you for reading that section of the book. It was an honor to be part of that. I will just, what's been on my heart lately, and this has nothing to do with our nonprofit. It has to do with all nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
There is such a misnomer that you have to give financially in order to support a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such limited thinking. And I want to encourage anybody that hears this, or anybody that goes back and watches, or that's in the audience. I want to tell you that no matter what the nonprofit is, no matter whether you're doing something locally or you're doing something abroad, find something that moves you, that pulls on those heartstrings that you care about, a mission, vision, and purpose that you care about. And if nothing else, you amplify their message through social media channels. That doesn't really cost you a whole lot. It costs you a little bit of time, but it doesn't cost you hardly anything. And that is the greatest weapon. Imagine how many people just are on LinkedIn alone. And if all of them were amplifying the messages of these great organizations all over the world that are trying to make a difference, how impactful that would be. And especially like what we're doing tonight with Corsa Racing. Yeah, I feel like it's my responsibility to call out other organizations beyond our own. I feel like the only way that we rise as a society and as a group is to rise together. So where a lot of nonprofits are very guarded, and a lot of nonprofits will not take in and support other nonprofits, we openly do so. You could see it on our website. You could see it in our posts. You could see it in our actions. And it is really the way forward, people. It is really the way forward. So if you are a heart-centered leader that is working in a nonprofit, or you're thinking about creating a nonprofit, I encourage you to take the path of collaboration and working with others to amplify messages. It will come back to you tenfold, but do it with a heart of service and be that kind of leader. Be the person that you want to see and be the change you want to see in the world. And it will happen. It will happen. I believe wholeheartedly that a small group of people can make incredible changes in the world.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I do what I do. That's what makes me get up in the morning. It's what drives me to talk about it and to be on shows like this and to say what I think is possible.
I love every bit of what you said. It is absolutely the vision of the It is the vision of the future that is pulling so many of us forward. It is absolutely leadership is changing to parallel leadership, right? And communities and groups are changing to that parallel flow where we move with each other and nobody is left behind. And the truth of the matter is, if you're in a nonprofit and you're having success, you need to find a nonprofit that's even being more successful than you are. If you're in a mid range, you need to find a high range, right? If you're in the high range, even if you're the leader of the pack, you need to find somebody that has a bigger vision than you so that you can latch onto it, so it can pull you forward. When we come together in a mission, vision, heart, soul based passion, we move the mountains, and the mountains are us, guys. We are the mountains that we have to move. The mountain is a thought that I don't want to get up today. The mountain is that I don't feel good today. The mountain is I can't do this. The mountain is, God, who am I? The mountain is, who are you, right? All of these things are the mountains. And when we come together and we're moving them, we're moving the mountain ranges. And when we take somebody else's statement and we shine what platform it is, and if it's our social media, everybody has a platform. Everybody has a platform to be able to share. And when you do that, this is the thing. When you do that and it's soul based, it's not only pulling you forward, it's pulling the rest of society forward. And you're not even losing the time that it took you to take to do it. And I'll tell you why. Because we are beyond E equals MC squared. When we are operating in that place and that flow of passion, and we are uplifting and moving together, we are in a place of love and compassion and empathy and grace and joy and understanding. And that is much more powerful than any time that it could ever take you. Not only will that time come back to you, that time will come back to you amplified times 10. That time will come back to you amplified times 1,000,000. Every single piece of passion, base, ether that you give is multiplied, and it comes back and pulls you forward. So whatever that is, I love that because it's so true. Get in it. Get into what it is that pulls you forward. Get into whatever it is that convinces you to get up every morning and move the mountain that is yourself, to move the mountain of your mindsets, to move the mountain of your thoughts, your belief systems, to move the mountain of your traumas. Come on, you're not alone. We are here, everyone here in this community right now on this call. I know that each one of you has the ability to help support yourself and to support others, and that we're all moving as a community together. I have no doubt about that. I feel that in my bones. Don't you? Don't you? And isn't that a beautiful thing? Whatever it is that you're doing to amplify yourself and your mission and the vision and the mission of each other, keep doing that. Keep doing it. And when it gets hard, dig in, because you're so close to something. You're so close to a breakthrough. You're so close to that next level. You're breaking out that little pieces of things that feel like they're falling all around you. That's a glass ceiling. That is a glass ceiling that you are turning into a new floor. Dig in deep, because you've got this. We believe in you. I believe in you. And just keep moving forward, one step, one breath, one thought, one tool at a time, and you're going to get there. You're important. Your message is important. What you're doing in the world is important, and you're not alone. That's what community is for. Thank you so much, Chason, for being here today.
My pleasure.
And
my pleasure. Thank you.
I look forward. I'll be in the audience later supporting you, and I look forward to learning more about yourself and about their nonprofit as well. So yes, I appreciate you so much, and it is time. So we will see you all next week, and until then, have a wonderful journey, and just keep swimming. Like Dory says, just keep swimming, and you're going to get there. Thank you.
Love it.
Love you all. Mean it. Bye.